Hi, this is Anna Imagination with a Healing Garden. Today I am going to talk about perspective abuse. I am not going to talk fast and try and condense this into a 2 to 5 minute video. We're going to sit down and have a really long talk about perspective abuse. All abuse is perspective abuse. Gaslighting is perspective abuse. Roll that around in your tongue. Really let that sink in. Telling somebody else what they should do is perspective abuse. Name calling is perspective abuse. Being violent because they disagree with you is perspective abuse. Being punished for not conforming is perspective abuse. Being slandered, ostracized, neglected, shamed for not believing in the same religion as your parents is perspective abuse. Name calling, trying to force your sibling to do something you don't want to do, is perspective abuse. Shaming someone because they're younger is perspective abuse. Dismissing that they have any kind of a voice or an opinion or a thought because of their gender, race, or age, or anything really, is perspective abuse. All abuse is perspective abuse. Now, do I have your attention? What causes mental illness is when our perspectives are abused. Mental illness is the fear system's adaptation system to keep you in a safe perspective so you won't be abused. Mentally healing is just trying to figure out what your ethical perspective is and what your subconscious mind's perspective was told it had to be. And it's you literally mending your subconscious mind and putting it through all the perspectives so that it aligns with your ethical perspective. That's mental healing. That's shadow work. That's therapy. Our entire world functions on perspective. In the field of psychology, one man released some papers and essays introducing spiral dynamics, 8 perspectives. A lot of people looked at that in the 70s and went, oh, that's nice, and shelved it. Perspective psychology is a new word that I just invented because it doesn't exist yet. Now, boom, it does. Perspective psychology is my own little brain baby that I just spent 30 years creating, building, and getting to. Perspective psychology is absolutely the core to curing mental illness, and it will. It absolutely will. It's absolutely extraordinary to watch in just 4 days how my children went from bickering impatience to kind, loving understanding. Because they know now, oh, they have a different perspective that they require to function. Everyone has their perspective, and every person has perspectives that they used to have behind them. And how and when you were abused in whichever perspective determines which mental illnesses you're going to get. Because that was the computation, that was the algorithm, that was the message that the subconscious mind received during abuse to go, oh, it's not safe to be different. So the subconscious mind tries to conform an individual into a perspective that is not their own. So if you are a perspective 5 ethically, and your parents are subconsciously stuck at a 2, the 2 subconscious mind is going to significantly abuse the 5th perspective ethics. And that's when malformation comes in. That's when identity suppression comes in. That's when shadow work starts to become required, because you have to go back to that point in time when you were a 5 ethical perspective living in a 4 society being abused by your 2 subconscious mind's mother. After you study my work, go back to this video and listen to that sentence again, and it will make sense. This is how I speak now with my children. And I've watched my children in just 4 days already adapt the language, and they're already using it on each other. And it's extraordinary. I have 10 rules, creeds of perspective thinking and perspective living that I've introduced, that I've written down. And those are available over at the Treasure Map. All of it's available over at the Treasure Map. Perspective psychology is groundbreaking, innovative, never seen before, game changer. People who are at levels perspective 5 and higher will absolutely understand perspective psychology with no problem, because this is triadic healing designed for the intellect. Levels 1 through 4 have other strengths, phenomenal strengths. Unfortunately, they're too busy arguing and fighting to know what those strengths are. Now, before all these level 5, 6s, and 7s go on to bash all of these others, those subconscious minds are caught with us too. And we all used to be level 1, 2, and 3. Some of us didn't make it through. Level 3 is the valley of shadow and death. Level 3 is hell. Everyone you know who's a narcissist lives in the 3rd perspective. Chew on that for a while. That being said, there is absolutely no ridiculing of any other perspective. No one is better than anybody else. That is really the core lesson here. No one is better than anybody else. Doesn't matter what your perspective is. The numbers are there because they're stages that happen in an order. That's all. They're just an order. It's not a hierarchy. That's perspective 4 thinking. It's not a hierarchy. It's a progression. The level 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s made it into a hierarchy because they lacked the other perspectives. You don't get this perspective until you reach level 8. This is the kind of stuff you find at level 8. Level 8, you realize that it was never a hierarchy. It's just an ordering system. So I talk a lot about ordering systems versus hierarchies. You're going to see that a lot here. This is a whole new world. It is an absolutely different world over here. When you start thinking perspective psychology, fighting stops, abuse stops, anger stops, violence stops. Stops. All of it stops. Mental illness goes away. Forgiveness, passion, love, that comes forward. Passion is not sexual. Passion is enthusiasm. It's excitement. It has nothing to do with sex. Passion is enthusiasm and excitement. That's the stuff you learn in triadic healing. So, I'm going to be talking a lot about perspective abuse, giving you a full education of it. In my audience, I do attract some 4s. They are usually the 4s who are pining to be 5s. They are the 4s who are wanting to be an entrepreneur, but they have way too much of 4th level perspective thinking. I'm going to be blunt. I don't work with you. I do not work at all with you. I don't currently have the resources to work with you. If you are out of level 4, like you are more ready to embrace what's ahead than cling to what's behind, and that's it. Then I can work with you. Now, this happens between stages 4 and 5, specifically 5. This is why 5 is such a transitional period. This is why 5 is so hard to pinpoint, is because this is where the divide happens. There is a balance of wanting to self-improve yourself and cling to the future versus wanting to hold onto your comfort zone and what's safe and in the past. And we're waiting for the scales to tip. Everybody who is 1 through 4 prioritizes this. They want the comfort zone more than the growth. Did you see what I just said there? I'm going to say it again. Comfort zone more than the growth. They value the comfort more than the growth. At perspective 5, some people switch this. They prefer the growth more than the comfort zone. I'm really going to let you sink this in. This is it. Which one do you prioritize? Comfort zone or growth? If you prioritize more your comfort zone, you're going to stay there. You're never going to go on. Not going to happen. Never. Until you change your priorities. And you can. I also show you how to do that in triadic healing. So when you shift your priorities, this is going to jump up. And suddenly you will value your growth more than your comfort zone. You cannot have them at the same time. You cannot have both. You cannot grow and have your comfort zone. Not gonna happen. Not at all. Unless, like me, growth is my comfort zone. Growth is my comfort zone. So if I'm not growing, I'm not comfortable. So I'm always growing, which is why I'm at a level 8. It's because never once in my life did I ever say, I'm good where I am now. That's a lie. I totally did, because I used to be a 3. I used to be a 4. I remember now. I remember making the same mistakes that everyone makes. I remember my mistakes now. This happens at level 8. You remember your mistakes, and not just the ones that traumatized you. You remember all of your mistakes. That is what you really have forgotten. You have forgotten all of the mistakes you used to make. So we don't learn from our mistakes, so we keep repeating them. Perspective psychology is extraordinary. It really is. So that being said, I am currently the only one with this information because I made it. It's mine. This is my baby. I am very proud, and I should be. That also being said, you are not going to get this material anywhere else. You cannot Google this stuff. You can't, because it doesn't exist yet. It's just in my head. I am in the process of putting it all out there. That is what the Healing Garden is. That is me taking all of the information in my head and all of my notes from 30 years, and I'm putting it into the computer. I am uploading this bad boy into the internet so everybody can have it. I like to use my website, www.annashealinggarden.org. I like to use YouTube because I love practicing my defense system and brushing up on my communication skills, and it taps into my identity of the stage. So this makes me really happy. This is my happy place, is my podcasting. And I use my Facebook. I have other social media accounts, but they feel icky to me because they don't vibe with my frequency. You'll learn a lot about that in the Healing Garden and with Triadic Healing. That all being said, I want to formally introduce you to Perspective Psychology. Say welcome. And I'm putting together the map as we speak, and it's all getting laid out, and it's beautiful. Triadic Healing, 3 parts of 3 parts. And I break down all of those 3 parts. It's absolutely stunning mathematics. And every numerologist in the world is going, oh my God. Yeah, it's amazing. The numbers, when you get to level 5, are extraordinary. I will one day actually study numerology. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your patience up until this point. It's been infuriating because I've been a level 8 stuck in a level 6 and a level 4 and a level 2. And I just evolved here. So it was, I could see things, but I could only see pieces of things. I couldn't see a lot. And now that it's clear and I'm finally aligned with my 888, finally I can see. And when I'm home in my environment like I am now, I am aligned beautifully with my 888. So I can now see, I understand my combination, I can understand. And the best part when you get to 8 is you get all of your communication. So you finally, I had to invent an entirely new language to explain this stuff, which is what Learn the Lingo is. But I'm very excited. I'm so happy for this. So I'm going to go ahead and get it out there. That's my project. That's all I'm going to be doing. Most of my classes at this point are not pre-recorded because I'm making this up as we go along. I'm just pulling all of my theories out of my head. And like I said, it's 30 years with over 9 different subjects all crammed into my head over 30 years. We're talking a lot of information. So it's going to take me time to get this set down. And the best way to do it is to sign up with my master classes, because as soon as you buy those, I'll be right with you going live, and I'll be recording the material and literally just vomiting it out there. So I have courses that I'm going to start, and they literally start the minute I have my first person buying. I already have started Power of Self. That's available every month. We do that once a month. And then I am going to be doing retreats. I'm going to be doing getaway retreats like to Cuba and to South America. I am definitely going to hit the Caribbean. And then I'm going to be doing some Spain, Tokyo, and Norway. And it's going to be the Healing Gardens getaway retreats, where I take my Triadic healing, I take my perspective psychology, and I build an entire getaway retreat for this stuff. And this is my favorite part. Triadic healing, the Healing Gardens, perspective psychology, I am giving it away free to schools across the United States to start. Every school in America, I will be providing them with a structure on what perspective psychology is, how to use it, where to take it, what to do with it, and how to implement it into your students. You will watch the feeling, you will watch everything. The fighting will go away. It's extraordinary because you start speaking in perspective. Let's just say that up until now, there's 2 languages. There was the grunting, and then there was the, oh, we're actually speaking in terms of perspective. Let's use this language system now. So I'm inventing a language system, perspective psychology, so we can communicate what we need to actually say to each other. And the best part is, once you do that and you hear other words that are being spoken, you know what they're actually trying to say based on their perspective. Oh yeah, I'm so glad I studied linguistics. This is why I needed to study linguistics, so I can break down the actual working communication of perspective psychology to you, so we can talk to each other and we can bridge the perspective gap. You know that education gap or the barrier gap that that's the wrong word. It's a perspective gap. That's your first lesson. It's a perspective gap. So I'm bridging the perspective gaps by creating a communication system in which I can deliver to you, and I can finally use those words to say what's been in my head for years. So thank you so much for your time. It's all over at my website, www.anashealinggarden.org. Take a look at the treasure map. Thank you, and may the kindest of words always find you.